Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and thanks once again for joining me. As part of the 4-week self-inquiry block, today's video will look at how we're going to be able to bring self-inquiry into a day-to-day routine without needing to set aside any additional time. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Linda Byrne. I'm a coaching psychologist and positive psychologist with training also as a 500-hour yoga teacher. Also got training in various modalities, polyvagal theory, cognitive behavioural therapy and other embodied-based practices. So I really just look at what the science is and evidence-based research around what modalities and what techniques and tools in those practices can help you manage stress and anxiety and just lead a better life. So let's jump straight into it. So self-inquiry is a very simple practice, but for those of you that are busy, how do you actually embed it into your day-to-day routine without needing to put aside any additional time? Well, for me, it's really about connecting mindfulness into an activity or something that you're going to be doing on a regular basis. So I've set aside 4 things, but you can really choose anything that you're going to be doing regularly to bring mindful awareness in. So starting with the first one, a really good one is eating. And mindful eating is very simple. You literally choose one of the meal times or a time when you're going to be, that you're going to go and have a coffee or going to make a cup of tea or a drink of water or something like that. And just the key really is to choose a time that you're going to be the least distracted and something that you're going to be doing regularly. So for me, for example, it's coffee in the morning. I can get quite busy here on my farm and also with my business, so it's really important for me to try and look at ways to start the day and start the day in a good way, because once the day gets taken, sometimes the day can get taken from you, if you like, with some of the things that you're trying to achieve or do. And so for me, it's definitely when I have coffee in the morning. But like I say, you can choose anything. You can choose any time you're going to eat, any time you're going to drink, but choose one regular time, preferably when you're going to be the least distracted. And how you bring mindfulness into that, how you mindfully eat or drink, is by engaging your senses. So bringing that awareness, that presence in, is really, really important. And for example, I'll share with you how I do it when I'm drinking coffee. So when I have my coffee in the morning, I really am bringing that awareness in to touch. So how does it feel? How does the coffee feel in my hand? Is it warm? How does the cup feel? As I bring it to my face to drink, I'm engaging my smell sense. I'm smelling the coffee. I'm then tasting it. I'm also engaging in my visual sense and looking at what the coffee looks like. Have I made the milk frothy enough? Try not to engage in too much thought, but it's basically just seeing the frothy milk, and bringing the senses in order to bring mindful awareness in. Now, that's not necessarily self-inquiry in its own right, because self-inquiry is really about not engaging the senses, but how you can actually use mindfulness to bring the observer self, which is really the practice of self-inquiry is through using your senses initially, and just by engaging in those senses, you're already bringing presence into that moment, your present awareness into that moment. So you're not drinking your coffee while you're thinking about the 100 things you've got to do or the things that you could have done better from yesterday. You're not ruminating or being anxious and living in a distracted sense. You're using mindfulness to become more present and aware with that thing that you're doing, i.e. for me, drinking my coffee. And what that does is instantly brings your observer self in. So then it's very easy to switch from that and say, okay, I'm now mindfully aware of drinking my coffee, but then bring in that extra little step of who is drinking this coffee, who is being aware, if you like, who is engaging in the coffee. And don't look for an answer. You know that with self-inquiry. If you're unsure about self-inquiry, definitely check out some of our other videos. But don't be searching for an answer. The key really is to be like, okay, who is having this experience? And by asking that simple question, you bring the observer self in. A way to really make it habit forming at the beginning is to do it regularly. Now, if for me, I know unless it's already embedded into a routine, I will probably forget that I need to do it. So I need to create reminders for myself. So I just set alarms. If I need to do and bring anything new into my routine, and it's a good way of doing that. It's just set an alarm on your phone at the time when you know you're going to be having your coffee, or if you've chosen lunch or dinner, whatever meal time or drinking time you've chosen. Set an alarm to remind you that that is going to be your mindful moment, okay? And then just from engaging the senses and bringing mindfulness into that moment, then bring the observer self in by asking the question, who is having this experience? Who am I? Who is this I that's having the experience? And it's as simple as that. So that's the first thing is you can do, the first activity you can do is choosing eating or drinking. The second activity is breathing. So we're going to be breathing all day. That's how we stay alive. So we're not always aware of our breathing. That's the difference. So if you set alarms throughout the day, just whenever you feel like it might be the most convenient, just to spend a minute or two, then bringing consciously your awareness into your natural breathing rhythm. If you're too busy and you don't have time to then engage in sort of breath work where you breathe in for a certain amount, you hold, then you exhale, or you engage in different parts of your diaphragm or belly breath, if you really haven't got time to set aside, just bring your awareness, keep it simple, bring your awareness into your natural breathing rhythm in that moment. That can be so powerful, particularly when we're busy. And I'll go a step further actually, and it's often what I chat about to clients too, is that quite often they haven't got time to then stop what they're doing in order to be more mindful in their breath, but you don't have to. You can actually carry on typing on your computer and being engaged in that activity, for example, in work. Say, for example, then your alarm goes off and it's time to be more mindful with your breath work or with your breathing. All you have to do is literally bring that awareness so you become less enmeshed in the task that you're in. Bring the awareness into your breathing, into your natural breathing rhythm, or go further if you have got the time to do some different types of breath work if you're aware of those practices. But you can still engage in the activity that you're doing, but you're just keeping that awareness there. And instantly, again, that will bring you into the present moment. That will engage you and into the body. That will ground you into the body. And then in that moment, say, who is experiencing this breath? So very simple practice, very easy to do by choosing something short, sweet and regular. And the way you make it a habit-forming exercise is by doing it regularly. So you must at the beginning make sure that you're going to remember or set alarms in order for you to remember. Once you get into a flow of it, you'll be surprised how often you do it anyway. You won't need the alarms then anymore, okay? But you have got to make a bit of effort at the beginning to be vigilant and make sure you do it regularly. So the third practice then, or the third way that you can do it, is being mindful while you're waiting. So that can be anything. It can be waiting to get your train on the way to work, on your commute. It can be waiting to pick the children up in the playground. It can be waiting for dinner to be ready. Just choose something. You all know your own lifestyle, so choose a moment in your week or that you are going to be waiting. It's going to be something you do regularly because, again, you want to have that regular practice for habit-forming practice. But if it's a moment where you know you wait at that particular time every day for something to happen, choose that moment and just engage. Again, bring the observer self, bring the awareness in, use your senses if you have to. The key thing I will say here, which I think is quite important as well, is mindfulness doesn't need quiet. Okay, so it's quite often misunderstood practice, and we think we need to go and sit cross-legged in a quiet room with no distractions in order to be mindful. Well, no, yes, that's extremely helpful when we're meditating. I, for one, love silence and quiet quite often, but particularly when I'm meditating. But it's not necessary for mindfulness, and it's certainly not necessary for self-inquiry. Actually, what mindfulness is doing is just becoming the observer and becoming the present observer self in the moment that's happening around you. So even if it's a really busy playground where you're picking children up from school, there's lots of activity, what you can do and how you can do that is just by taking a step back internally. So while you're in the playground, if it's the only time you have and it's going to be a noisy kind of setting or visually a busy setting, quite often they're the settings that people find it the most difficult to not be enmeshed in because sensorily they're quite overwhelming. But you can still engage in mindfulness here. If you can't take yourself off to a quiet corner of the playground, take a step back internally. So when you're waiting for your child, just take a step back internally and say, right, this is my time to be mindful now. I am observing, being here. I am being a witness to my presence here, what I can hear, what I can see, what I can smell. But I'm a witness to my presence here. I'm not enmeshed in the activity that's going on around me. I am witnessing from the observer self the activity that's going on around me. So that's another very simple way that we can engage mindfulness, use mindfulness as a way of engaging self-inquiry, even if it's a loud environment or overstimulating environment. If that is the only time you have, you can still do it. And the fourth way that I'd like to share with you today, but bearing in mind you can literally choose anything that you do regularly. But the fourth way, which I find is a lovely way, is there an activity that you do regularly that you enjoy? Sports activity or an exercise activity or a creative task, gardening, cooking, anything like that, any actual something where you're really engaged in it that you enjoy. Because guaranteed, if you're going to be enjoying something that you do, then you're going to be doing it regularly anyway. So choose that for your mindful-based practice. Set alarms again on your phone if you need to. And just see if you can really become mindfully aware and present with the activity that you're doing. Be aware of your enjoyment. Be aware of the emotion that you're feeling towards the activity. But slow down as much as possible in order to give yourself the time and the space for your senses to really become the focus of what you're doing and the focus of a part of the activity that you're doing. So if you're gardening, feel the soil, look at the plant, and don't be thinking, oh, I've got to do this right now because then in 10 minutes time I've got to run back in, I've got to cook. Use that time to stop ruminating about the past and stop being anxious about future tasks that you have to do. Bring mindfulness in, bring that presence in, and then from there you can just simply say, who is experiencing this gardening? Who is it that's experiencing this? And just for that moment, just step into the observer self. And that's a really good way of anchoring mindfulness and self-inquiry into your day-to-day routine without you needing to have any extra additional time in a busy schedule. Thanks so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you're getting some benefit from these, because it helps me get these out to you even more. Bye for now, and thanks again.